Wow, we've gone through a lot of trouble for this one. This is Joey, and I'm on a Zoom cast with Frankie Valli. We'll introduce him in a second, but I want to give my blessing here, like they do in the church. Let's hope this thing works. This microphone. We're all, see, you know what happened is I was a disc jockey for a number of years, and I played so many of the Four Seasons records, I went deaf. So, you know, I can't, Bob Crew and Frankie and Gaudio, all these guys, they're responsible for my loss of hearing, but I can't sue because, well, a couple of those guys, first of all, are never going to pay attention to anything I say anyway. So what the hell is this?
You're outside there is this wonderful background with all those.
Oh, I'm in Florida. I'm in Florida. You know what I'm busy doing today, Frankie? I'm defunding. I was paying.
What?
I'm defunding. I'm not paying my parking ticket. I'm defunding the police. Hey, listen, this is not an interview. This is a hang, okay? You're not being interviewed. There's no Q&A. It's simply an act of envy because you talked to Cousin Brucey this week, and I got jealous. You gave him time. And, you know, Brucey and I are really good friends, but he can't be one up on me with Frankie Valli. It's not allowed. Where are you now?
I'm in LA.
Okay. What have you been doing for the last couple of months?
Besides being in prison?
Yeah. So what are you doing? Just hanging around the house?
It's almost the feeling of being locked up. I mean, you know, yeah. It's a good indication for everybody to understand what it's like to be locked up.
Well, that's true.
But I mean, I'm sure it's for a necessary purpose.
Now, are you wearing a mask and not separating? You doing all of that?
Can't you see my mask?
No, not now. When you go out, do you go out? Do you follow all the rules?
Yes, I do. I do wear a mask.
What do you do?
Listen, I don't know. I think the Japanese were smarter than everybody, but they've been wearing masks for the last 10 or 15 years now.
This is true. Now, what's going on with all of this stuff around you in LA? You're not in the action because you're not in South Central.
Well, you know, everything is at a standstill at this particular point.
Yeah.
Most everybody I know and most promoters have just about canceled out the year. There's some hope for maybe in December or late November, but I really, it's better to be safe than sorry.
That's right. What about the drive-in theaters? Is that too small?
I'm sorry?
Drive-in theaters, going to drive-in theaters. Is that too small?
I think that's a great idea. That was always a great idea.
Yeah.
But it will reflect the money being a lot different when you do go out and the production having to be a lot smaller. You know, you need the capacity so that you can pay for all the production and all the people that you carry with you.
Ever since I've known you, you have never stopped working. This is the longest time that I ever recall where you didn't work, where you were not in public performing. Is that right, or am I just imagining?
Oh, yeah, you are right. This is the longest time. Well, there was a period of time where I was thinking about retiring, and that had to be, geez, it had to be 10 or 15 years ago, and I broke up the band and everything, and about the third week into this retirement, I called my agent. I said, "You got to start booking me. I have to put a band together."
Well, I know that you have such a great precision show. I'm saying it intentionally. I know I'm talking a little loud, but that's because you're on a cell phone and I can't hear. So, you know, I'm apple up the nose with this equipment. But I want to say that, you know, with all the years that you've been performing, you are one of the few artists that still does the same thing but now you have so many more people. I mean, you have a big cast. You got to pay them. You're not paying these guys, are you?
Well, that's what happens when you become in charge. You know, back in the day, when we were a partnership, and there were four of us, and everybody had a say. It was
Yeah.
different. Everybody was looking at the situation from a different angle, and you had to get everybody else to agree with you to get something done. And now, if I want to improve on production, I don't have to go to anybody. I just sit down and figure it out and see if it makes sense.
And you call Dean. Hello, Dean.
Right.
Handle it. He's great. Now, listen. I want to. I want to. I don't know if this has ever been asked you, and once again, it's not a Q&A, but I'm for my own information. Did I have this right that when you first did Jersey Boys, it was supposed to be a CBS movie of the week or a movie? Is that correct, or am I smoking something?
Originally, we were offered a CBS movie of the week
Yeah.
or an NBC movie of the week, and when we looked at the logistics of everything, it hardly made sense to do it. It took a long time. I mean, it took 15 years of figuring out exactly what we were going to do, and 10 years from the point that we thought it might be a play. And it was a struggle. I mean, I had more turndowns than I have hair on my head. I have a few hairs on my head.
Still do. No, you
So,
look great. You look great, Frank. You look very healthy, and you got a great smile. And you're a great performer. So there's nothing wrong, except that we all live too long for all this craziness
right.
now.
And we lived long enough to make differences if that's what we choose to do.
Yeah.
And that's what we should always be trying to do. You know, life it should be about having fun and doing all the right things. And that's what happiness, that's where it comes from. So you have to start somewhere and be proud of what you do and just do what you do and do it at the very best you possibly can.
Are you active in any of this movement that's going on now? Are you?
I'm certainly not against protesting. I think that it's an important factor, and sometimes the people that we elect may not be doing what the public actually wants them to do. So it's a good way to do it, and I think that protesting without violence is really the key. We need to understand that here in America, we come from various parts of the world, just about every place in the world. And we have to learn how to become a family. If we can accomplish that, we probably could do away with a lot of the terrible things that do go on.
Well said. Well said. You know, I know you pretty well, and you got a great heart, and you always do something for someone else. I want to make a comment. I know you always like Frank Sinatra, and I got to tell you that you have meant more, as far as I'm concerned. This is me talking now. You have meant more because Frank never got to this place where he did what you're able to do right now, which is to be. They call it giving back. I don't know if that's a good expression, but you were really always involved with helping everybody and doing everything for everybody, and you're still doing it. That's wonderful. I mean, it's a great compliment to you, to your person. If I call you and ask you for something, you always say yes. You're a great friend. You're a great friend to have.
Well, we were pretty good friends, and I actually met him through his mother, which was really very strange for the way it happened. His mother was involved in doing a lot of work for churches and different organizations to raise money. And she was doing something for the blind. And the original artist that they had hired to do it was Jimmy Rosselli.
Yeah.
And they had a beef about the size of the orchestra, and Jimmy wanted a bigger orchestra. And he opted to not do the date. And Ken Roberts, who was managing us at the time, was very friendly with Frank's mom. And he said, I had this group I was managing, Four Seasons band. He said, if you want, we can get them to do it. And we did. We did it. We did it for nothing. And evidently she told her son. And Julie Rizzo, who had Julie's in New York City at the time, called me up and said, Frank wants to see you. At first I had no idea. But he wanted to see me for what? And they just, he wants to see you. He says, and he made an appointment, and I did. I went and I met him in Julie's, and he thanked me for doing this thing for his mother. That's how we became friends.
I had used to go to Hoboken every week with Kenny Roberts, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I would go with him every week to buy Italian bread, because he had that one. He did not eat. He only ate pizza and French fries.
Right.
And that pasta. Italian and the pasta. Yeah.
He did.
He would have that. So I would go with him and Sid Bernstein.
And that's the only pasta that he ate was spaghetti.
That's right.
No anything else, no rigatoni or penna or any of that.
And Sid Bernstein was the Jewish version of him. Right. I never saw his face because his head was always down on the plate. He's always eating.
Right.
So Sid and Ken and I would hang out, and Maddie, who was good, Ken grew up with Frank Sinatra's family. His mother was a midwife. She delivered children and helped to deliver children. So there's a good history here with everybody. I mean, it's wonderful. Ken tells a story, which I want to pass on for a minute, of working when the boats used to land in Hoboken instead of on the New York side of the Hudson. And he said that he would carry luggage and be tipped. That's what he did as a kid, and he would get a tip for carrying luggage. And he carried the luggage of Clark Gable, he said. That was the thrill of his life, was Clark Gable. I said, you're friends with Frank Sinatra. You're going to worry about Clark Gable? Get out of here. But you guys are, you're all the same, all the same. You never changed. You've never changed.
Well, growing up as a kid and hearing Frank Sinatra on the radio and becoming a fan, and never in a million years did I ever dream that it would ever go any further than that.
Yeah.
I wasn't even sure of what I was going to do with my life at that time. And then becoming friends, I mean, it was like a dream come true. I mean, I could hardly believe that it was happening.
And Frank had a black guy named Sammy Davis with him.
Absolutely. Sammy was an excellent guy.
And Kenny Roberts has Sly and the Family Stone. I mean, in our business, we didn't have the color. I don't ever remember being judging someone by color. I judged them by talent, never color. I don't recall that.
I never knew there was any real racial tension until I became successful and did a tour with Jackie Wilson. And we toured through the South, and I couldn't believe it. We had to stay at a different hotel than everybody else, eating different restaurants. It was really weird to me. Don't forget, I played the Apollo Theater in 1963 with Jerry Butler and Ike and Tina Turner.
I'm going to weigh in here for a minute. I remember you coming to bat when we were on the road. I was on the road with you guys for a while in the summertime. I was privileged to come and MC your concerts on one of the tours. And we went to Asbury Park to the Berkeley Carteret, which was a very established, I would say, conservative hotel, and they had the pool in the front of the hotel, which is unusual. And so we had our busload of people like Jimmy Soul and various people of color, and they wouldn't let us come into the hotel. But then you went over and worked a little bit of magic, and you told somebody off, as I recall, and it all changed. So that's the privilege of being a star, isn't it?
Well, I grew up in a mixed neighborhood. It was normal. We went in and ate in each other's homes and hung out with each other. So it was quite different than what I saw later as I grew up. I never realized there was that kind of tension. But I was from the north, and the south was totally different. Not that it was a good thing or a bad thing. Whatever the reasons were, they were different.
Are we gonna have peace on the home front here, or is everybody going to continue to do this craziness?
Are we going to have what?
Peace, peace. Remember where we all get along and start to figure this out?
Well, if we get smart enough, we will. But it takes being bright enough to realize and understand all the things that people that are in office promise and never deliver. The public has to begin to see that, and maybe they are. Maybe some of this that's going on, except for the violence, maybe it's good that there is this kind of attention. We need to learn how to respect each other and not worry about what everybody else is doing. We just get too involved in everyone else's life, and it's wrong. You should be allowed, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you should be allowed to do whatever you want to do.
How did we as Italian Americans, how did we work it out so that we were not welcomed at the beginning either? I mean, we had a hard time and we had to figure it out. How did we finally come to the term?
Well, I remember as a kid, it was there was a lot of Italian resentment.
Yeah.
And there certainly was a lot of Hispanic, Puerto Rican resentment, and there was a lot of Polish resentment, and there was a lot of Irish resentment. We have to learn to live together. We live in the same country. We need to understand that. We need to let the world know that we here in America are a family. We are one. And that's how it should be. You have a lot of leaders who help to create the problems. They make a living doing that. That's how they get voted for. In blocks of places where they're separating. We're not that kind of a country here. And we need to be fair to everybody.
You know what I like? I like the idea that we can talk to each other about these issues, because that's a good beginning, for all of us to express how we feel. I called on one of my friends this morning just to have, I get annoyed because I'm watching too much television. I think the media fuels a lot, but there's 600 channels and there's one story, so they got to play it out. And I like the commercial part is okay, but I don't like the way that we've really hammered. So I was talking to my friend this morning about it, and he said, "Oh, I'm so tired of the black people. They ought to go back where they came from." And I said, if you tell everybody to go back where they came from, you would have nobody here but the Indians, because they came from here. They're the ones. He said, but they have the casinos. I said, so give black people the toll booths. Do something, I mean, if there's a retribution, but there isn't. I was just being facetious. But,
being in the music business has been quite helpful. I mean, some of the people that I've gotten to know and loved and respected. The music business was really a place where you came together and you did shows together. And it didn't matter from where you came, what neighborhood you lived in, or what your status was. Very important also is the fact that we need to be a bit more responsible for ourselves and what we do and how we accomplish and what we achieve in life. You get out of life what you put into it. If you work hard and pay no attention to all this nonsense that's created by situations that go on with people who make a living off the people, they like to see the tensions going on. That's what makes them make a living. We have to get past that. And I hope that we're smart enough to do that. There should be a little bit of love in us to spread out for everybody. And the same for them. There should be love with everybody out there a little bit that they can spread out. If we did more of that and helped each other more, it would be a different situation. Totally. I mean, if you got a child from every country in the world and put them all together in a room and let them grow up together, there'd be no dissensions. You know, that some of these things that go down happen from the adults who don't do anything to teach or help the kids to understand that we all do the same things and we all bleed when we get cut and we all eat and we all go to the bathroom and we do all the things that everybody looks at as normal. So why the hell can't we just get along?
Rodney King.
Right.
You know, my daughter was in school for troubled teens for 5 years, and you graduate by consensus. So she's gone through all of the changes of dorm life, kicking the habit, moving through all of the society, and then of course graduating by consensus, where everybody votes you out of the school. But paralleling that, and it was started by Joseph Papp, and Leonard Bernstein. They had kids in the school, and they were up in Tanglewood, up in Stockbridge. So my daughter was in school, but I was in a parent group, which I'm still in the parent group. This is 30 years now, and I'm in the parent group because I have to change. And, you know, the only way that I have support, you know, so I mentioned a little while ago that the thing is that we have people we can talk to. That's important to be able to do that. It's important to be able to pick up the phone and talk to you and ask you how you feel about something, or to see if you want to comment on something. And that's what I wanted to have you on for, because I know, see, you're very profound. And you're in a quiet way. You don't brag. I can say this, and I'm not going to destroy your humility, but you don't practice pride. You're very, very cool. And I know that about you for years. And I've seen you travel in so many different places from fame to fortune to loss you've been through everything we've all been through, plus the high end and the low end. And I have such an admiration for you. And I love the fact that if I call you up, which like today, I said, I want to talk to you. I want to hear what you say, because I don't want to hear rhetoric. And I know you don't do that. And I also don't want to hear the party line. I didn't ask you if you're Republican or Democrat. I didn't put any separation in here. I just wanted to know where you were going, because you got such a big heart. And it's even in your show. I mean, you know, you got all that in your show. And you incorporated that through the years. So with praise for you, which I'm doing, it's not false. It's absolutely an accurate assessment of you. And I just love you. I mean, you're just one of those regular people that never changed. That's it.
Well, yeah, like I said, you know, a lot of it, I grew up in the projects, and we were a mixed breed of people that lived there. My first major success was with an all-black record company. I was also with Motown Records. I have been with a lot of different record companies in my career. And you know, music doesn't look at color or any of that. It's just something that's created. I mean, how could you? I don't care what color you are. How could you not like Ray Charles? I don't care what color you are. How could you not like Hank Williams? So maybe we need more music. Maybe one of the problems is that our educational system should be changed a bit.
Oh yeah.
And maybe there should be more culture involved in our educational system. And maybe music and art should be major subjects. A lot of these kids that do graffiti are incredible artists without any background or education on doing any of that. If we had some of these tools, some of the kids that get in trouble would probably not get in trouble. I know a guy that I grew up with who got in trouble and was incarcerated, and he did 3 or 4 years, and he came out, and I saw him. He showed me this portfolio that he put together. He learned how to paint, and it was phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. This was a really tough kid who wasn't afraid of anybody. He had all this energy with no place to go with it. Being arrested and doing time in prison gave him the opportunity to see something and go for it and do it very well. So, not enough has been done with our education system.
Right.
And colleges are to the point where they're so expensive and rich. I mean, what is it all about? We should be educating the people in our country.
How do we get rid of poverty? What do you think?
There's one way of getting rid of poverty that I can think, and that's to work hard. I mean, think about the people that came from all over the world to escape oppression, to live in America, and think about some of them who became incredibly successful. Now, we do have people who care about being successful, and we do have people either they don't care about it, or they don't know, or don't think they could ever achieve it. But it comes from hard work. If you want to be a great lawyer, you have to really study and do what you need to do to become that attorney that you think you might want to be. There are reasons why a lot of people are successful. Maybe some of that should be taught in schools to kids. We need more incentive in school. And don't put a rubber stamp on everybody like everybody's the same, because they're not. Not everybody is going to become successful in any society. I don't care what it is. Not everybody. Success, a major part of what success is all about is that you want to be successful. You want to, at any price or cost that it may be to you, you are going to invest in yourself and not look at somebody else and say, look at him, he's so lucky, look at what he's got. But, maybe if you look at it a little differently and try to put a positive take on it and say, look at him, he's successful. I can do that too. So it's the same thing with hatred. If somebody hates you, it should be a great example of what you should not be. For you, it should be an example. You should look at it and say, wow, I'm so happy that I'm not like that. Now I see what I would look like if I were like that.
We don't get on the air and say, hey, you know what, I did this, I did that, or I screwed up. It's always blaming someone. That's the way we've been running the game. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it does. It does. Well, we're always looking for a way out. Why would we take, how many people do you know say, I made a mistake here?
Yeah.
I mean, how many do you know like that?
Not a lot.
I mean, you think about some of the things that happen and what the world is all about. And there came a period of time, if you do a little investigating, you find out that so much of what left this country and went to other countries, so much industry, so much technology, is because we had leaders who let it happen. They didn't tell us what was going on. They just let it happen. And a lot of these guys made a lot of money out of this.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, isn't it ridiculous that here in America, we don't make our own antibiotics?
Amen.
I mean, where do you go from there? That means this other country that makes it, if they get mad at you and don't want to send you any, So why is it? And you know, and there are reasons as to why. Because it's cheaper to make someplace else.
Right.
But we as Americans should look at things and say, and everybody, including myself, if we should buy made in America. This is where we live. This is it. We're supporting and helping the people that live in our own country. Why do we want to make another country greater than our country? This is still the greatest country in the world, no matter what anybody says.
I agree. I have a personal question I want to ask you, okay?
Sure.
This is a question. How do you stay so damn healthy?
How do I what?
Stay so damn healthy.
Well, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I use no substances. I go to bed at right hours, I don't hang out. And a part of being healthy is keeping your mind healthy. And don't fall into the trap. You know, the news is terrific if it's really news.
Yeah.
And so much of it is hardly news. When do they tell us something positive? And I, you know, after a while, it just gets to where you don't know what end is up.
You are amazing, amazing, and I'm so happy that that you're saying all these things. They need to be heard. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
They need to be heard by us. No.
Well, you need to have a lot more positive people out there preaching that we can do it, we can get along. You know, that's why I say I am certainly not against protesting and marching and so forth and so on. Martin Luther King proved that was true. We should take examples of people like that. And the people who vandalize, they only hurt the cause, they don't help. And the people who are marching peacefully should take that into account and don't stand there and watch it like it's okay. When something is wrong, it should be called out for being wrong. It's right. It should be called out for being right. We need to dump this hatred. It's hatred. It's terrible.
How are we going to get rid of this virus?
They'll eventually have something that will.
Well,
This will be the last of viruses. If anybody thinks that, they were really. And we shouldn't go around being scared for our lives forever and ever and ever. You'll go in and you'll get a shot. This may be before the end of the year, where they have this together. They are right now testing. I have very close friends at the Cleveland Clinic, and we talk about some of these things. As you get older, you really get into what it's all about. And the wonderful thing about getting older is the fact that you really begin to see the clarity of the picture. It becomes clearer than it's ever been in your entire life. That's the beauty of it. You look at it and analyze it, and you do it in a peaceful way. And if you avoid all the negatives in life, or try to, whether they be people or things, you'll be a lot better off and a lot happier.
I can see the picture better, but I don't hear as well. The hearing going. Frankie, when are we going to see you perform again? Let's get to that for a minute. When are you going back to work?
Well, hopefully before the end of the year, but I doubt if that's really going to happen. I think that I don't know. I don't think anything major is going to happen until next year. I think people are still going to be a little worried about going into places and being next to each other and so forth. Although I noticed that with all the protesting and rioting that was going on, vandalism, all these people weren't even giving any thought to this virus.
Well,
where was the distance? And another very interesting part of this is that I think in New York City, anyway, most of the people that died from the virus were in nursing homes.
Yeah.
Nursing homes that were forced to take on people who had the virus.
Well, I hope that you stay healthy and happy as you are. And also, I want to see you wear a mask.
All right.
Where you're living in Calabasas is the home of the Lone Ranger. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's where Clayton Moore lived. And down the street at the corner of Mulholland is where the old movie star home is, and that's where Tonto is. So you got those guys. The masked man is right behind you, but the wrong mask.
Usually I go. I know all the places that I go to. I'm not big on visiting every single or knowing.
Yeah. Good. Well, I want to hear you sing again. Okay.
All right.
So.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing that anyway. So.
Now that you're 65 years old. I love you, Frank. You're great.
I love you too, Joe.
All right. Let a smile be your umbrella. Don't get a mouthful of rain.